All righty, the lights are flashing like at the movie theater at the Phantom of the Opera. All right, Coach. We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is Thursday, May the 16th, 2024. And we'll have our invocation by our very own Miss Emily Hardaway, our Community Outreach Coordinator for the City of Douglasville. After we have the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand, if you would, for the invocation and pledge.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful day that you have given us. As we enter into graduation season, I pray that you be with all the graduates in our lives, Lord, and in our community, and guide their next steps as they enter this new journey of their lives. Please be with our mayor and council this evening. Grant them discernment and wisdom to lead our city well. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and thank you, Miss Emily, for that beautiful invocation. Graduation is a very special time, so we're excited about that. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville. This is a meeting where it's just a work session. Agenda items that are presented this evening have discussion, but we will not vote on those items until our official meeting, which is next Monday at our our regular voting meeting. Official action will be taken at that time. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates for you to discuss your business. Just a few protocol issues I'd like to go over with everyone, and we'll read these items and then we'll begin the meeting. I ask that you please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack, calling out anyone's names, or personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair. If you deviate from this requirement, a second deviation will requesting you leaving the chambers this evening. So we ask that you will please try to be professional and not call anyone out or attack anyone verbally. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers or speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on a conversation when you're at the podium. Please address when you're at the podium all of your concerns to the committee chairperson or to myself, and we will respond or have our staff respond. I remind you that we're only required to accept public comments during the required public hearings. And if you have a cell phone or electronic device, I ask that you will please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so they will not be disruptive. This is how the agenda items will be handled. The committee chairperson will read that agenda item. Then that person or applicant will make his or her presentation to myself and council members. We'll possibly ask clarifying questions to help us make our determination and decisions for next week. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum of 20 minutes for those in favor of the item and 20 minutes for those in opposition. And each person has 5 minutes to speak. Before you come to the podium, we ask that you would please fill out a speaker card. There are some blue cards outside on the desk. Please put your name and address on those cards and hand those cards to our assistant city clerk, and she will put those cards, that information, into the record. Prior to approaching the podium, give your card to the Assistant City Clerk, come to the podium, give you just your name and address, and then you can talk to us for 5 minutes. So unless you're the applicant, you have a little more time. Each person has one opportunity to speak. This is a meeting. We don't have questions and answers where we're going back and forth or debating or arguing. We're just here to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decisions. I believe that's it. If you have any printed material, please give those materials to our Assistant City Clerk, and she will make copies and disseminate that information to us. That's a lot of talking. Hopefully, we're all on the same page and everyone understands the procedure and protocol and how the meeting will be handled this evening. So now we have paper agendas, if you like one of those outside on the desk, and/or you can follow us on the screen. So we'll move on. We've done the first 3 items, and now we're at a presentation. I do have a proclamation in collaboration with the National Leagues of Cities declaring May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month in the city of Douglasville. And our city manager will accept this proclamation for the NLC. I'll read the proclamation, and then our city manager can come forward and have any comments, as she is a former chair of the City and County Managers Association for the state of Georgia, and still serves on that board and other important boards in the state of Georgia. Office of the Mayor, proclamation, National Cities, Towns, and Villages Week, May 19th through the 25th, 2024. Whereas the National League of Cities was founded in 1924 in Lawrence, Kansas, as the American Municipal Association by state municipal leagues seeking more coordination and national representation as cities, towns, and villages expanded rapidly. And whereas the nonpartisan National League of Cities is the oldest and largest organization representing municipal governments throughout the United States, representing their interest of more than 19,000 cities, towns, and villages across the country. And whereas the National League of Cities works in partnership with 49 states, municipal leagues across the country to strengthen local leadership, drive innovation, and influence the federal policies that impact local programs and operations. And whereas, as the voice of the cities, towns, and villages in Washington, D.C., the National League of Cities has successfully championed federal legislative solutions that support municipalities and has worked closely with Congress and the executive branch to educate policymakers on the realities of local government. And whereas Douglasville is a proud member of the National Leagues of Cities and has benefited from the organization's research, technical expertise, federal advocacy, and opportunities to learn from local governments. And whereas local governments are the bedrock of American democracy, providing 336 million residents with the most accountable, responsive, inclusive, ethical, and transparent government in the world. I don't know if that's subjective or not, but that's great. And whereas Douglasville was the first incorporated, Douglasville was first incorporated in 1875 and proudly serves today. For myself, Mayor Rochelle Robinson, the city of Douglasville, and a municipal workforce of 344 dedicated public servants. Now, therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the city of Douglasville, do hereby designate the week of May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Week in celebration of America's local government and the National Leagues of Cities' historic centennial anniversary. So proclaimed this 16th day of May 2024. Our city manager, would you please come forward and accept the proclamation if you have any words to say, and we'll come around and take a photo with you.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, this is a proclamation on behalf of you all. I know several of you all have participated in National Leagues of Cities events, very similar to the Georgia Municipal Association. The National Leagues of Cities advocates for you all on behalf at the federal level. If you all remember ARPA funding, the National Leagues of Cities was a key organization that helped to provide support to the federal government to make certain that local governments received a direct allotment to its coffers to provide for that COVID funding relief. And that was the first time in history that local governments were, particularly our size, that were non-entitlement communities that were able to receive that funding. So National Leagues of Cities is an important organization, and I think that we all, and I'll speak on behalf of you all, are proud to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, City Manager. Let's give the City Manager a hand as she represents us for the National Leagues of Cities. We'll come around and take a photo with you.
All right, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, one more, 1, 2, 3, and then one more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much for indulging us in presenting that proclamation. We'll move on now to item number 5, and that committee is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem City Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
one item
welcome.
tonight under the Economic Development Committee.
Yes,
And
sir.
that is to authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to continue the city's participation in the Georgia Classic Main Street Program, which I think we've been doing for quite a number of years now. And you are not Will Smith.
I am not.
You're not even close to being Will Smith.
I am not. I'm your Deputy City Manager, Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you read, this is a routine agreement that we do every year with Georgia Main Street or Main Street America to ensure that we continue the items that we need to be an accredited Main Street program, as well as continue with the items set forth to have a successful Main Street program for our downtown businesses.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Any comments or questions from Mayor or Council? I think most everybody here has had some level of participation with this through either the DDA or Main Street program. Marcia, Ms. City Manager and I grew up in that program in the city back in the early 1900s, I think it was.
Not the 1900s.
I'm assuming there's no controversy here, so I think if everybody's fine, we'll place that on the consent agenda for Monday. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Madam Mayor, that is all we have under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and our Deputy City Manager standing in for Mr. Smith, our Economic Development person. We'll move on then to Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
We have one item tonight, authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Mike Westmoreland Contracting, Inc. for West Pines Golf Course driving range improvements in the amount of $357,132. And Mr. Cartwright's here to tell us all about it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chris Cartwright, 9090 Rose Avenue. So we're excited to finally take on the driving range renovation and make an improvement to the facility that we've been talking about for a while now. And we really see this as kind of our last little eyesore to take care of when you come out to the facility. So we're excited to work with Westmoreland Contracting on this project. He was the low bid for the project, and we feel like he was probably the most qualified bidder for the project as well. So that's a pretty great duo for us for this job. So any questions that you guys may have, be happy to answer them.
One question I had, reading over the attachment, I was a little confused. The bid amount that I see in here, the low bid amount, is that accurate, or was there an issue with that?
So Westmoreland made a calculation error when they were totaling their bid, but working with Miranda and her office, we've let him know that he either has to honor that bid or throw that bid out. He still would like to do the project and is honoring that bid price. It is reflected in the contract that we will not do a change order for that error, and we are covered to get the whole project done for that lower price.
Sounds good. Any questions or comments? I'll start with Madam Mayor, and then we'll work our way down to Councilman Davis.
Thank you so much, Coach. All right, I was wondering why, Mr. Cartwright, because of the other bid, I mean, there's always a range, but the most expensive or one that came in at the higher number was almost double
I'm
So-
not sure why that one is so high. The only thing I can come up with is they are not local. So they must have seen our advertisement for the bid online and threw their hat in there. But the other two companies are
Yeah.
local, so I'm assuming that there's a lot less travel expenses involved for them. But that one's pretty up there.
Yeah, it
So
is.
we're not going with them, for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Cartwright. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. I saw Councilman Davis's hand first, and we'll come back to you, Councilman.
Yes, on this project, is it rebuilding the whole place, or what we
Driving
doing?
range.
Grass, or what we doing?
So it's going to regrade, regrass, and re-irrigate that whole driving range section. So a general overview of the project is right now, if you hit a range ball off of our tee, you basically cannot see it land until it gets 200, 220 yards away from you. So a lot of people are going to the range to figure out, well, how far do I hit these different clubs? And they can't figure that out because it's a blind shot over a hill. So we're going to push the dirt out and regrade the area so that you can see shots land, I'm going to say approximately after 100 yards, so relatively a short distance. And so it's going to be a much better practice facility for our members and guests.
For 357,000. That's a
It's-
lot of
it-
money.
It's a lot of dirt and a lot of grass to move.
All right, thank you.
Before I
It's
go,
awful like that.
before I go to Councilman Miller, I would just say that the golf course is making money, right?
Absolutely.
All
So
right, yes, sir.
we see this as an opportunity to increase the money we're making in the future as well.
Yeah, yes, Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to, and I think I speak for pretty much everybody up here, to compliment you on what you've done with this golf course. You brought it into the 21st century, and you've done some amazing things. It's a first-class facility. Well, thank you for that. However, you and I will have a conversation about what you did to my maintenance shed.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
Is it down?
We'll have a conversation offline
Okay,
about that.
okay. I didn't know the maintenance shed was there.
But thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes, ladies, any?
Thank you, yes. How long will this renovation last?
It'll be approximately 2 months.
Okay.
Obviously, being so outdoors, a lot of weather dependency there, but we've been given a timeline of 6 to 9 weeks.
Okay, and when are we looking to start that?
Roughly the middle of June. So once we get all the ink on the paper and the
Okay.
contractor knows that everything is finalized, he'll get us, next in line on his schedule.
Okay,
And
thank
if,
you.
and if we're farther down the road than that, it would change the scope of the project because we're able to do it a little bit cheaper because the bulk of the grass will be grown from sprigs rather than sod. So if we started the project, let's say in August, for instance, it wouldn't be a long enough growing season and we would have to sod the whole thing and you'd be looking at a higher price.
That's good to know. All right.
So getting it started in June, July at the latest is very key for the project.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Madam Mayor?
Okay, Chris, I know you're the golf pro. Is this where I'm thinking the driving range is?
Where we have shot the fireworks off every
That's what I was
year.
getting ready to say. Can we, okay, what's going to happen to the 4th of July?
We'll still be able to do it. Yep, that's
Okay.
not an issue. We'll just have to clean up the debris a little quicker than maybe we normally would. But, if y'all have been out there for the 4th of July, you know that fairway is pretty rough looking, a lot of mud and dirt, and we lose golf balls that get stuck in the dirt. So this will make it look like a fairway, like one of our holes on the golf course.
And what are the golfers going to do in the interim with those 6 to 8 weeks or however long?
They're going to wait patiently.
They're going to wait patiently to just
we-
have to
we
get out
will-
on the course and try those 18
We
holes?
will set up some nets temporarily on the first tee for them to make some warm-up swings. We won't, charge for that, obviously, but just so people can get a warm-up in before their round, we will make that accommodation.
Okay. Have you gone to the PGA yet?
I was there 2 weeks ago.
What happened?
Didn't play so well, or else I wouldn't be here tonight. I'd be at the
Okay,
PGA
well,
Championship.
you were there. It's like the Academy Awards. You were
Well,
there, so you still won.
I was there, and I'll be there next year. I've already qualified for next year, so
Well, that's good.
we'll give
That's
it another
okay.
try.
Yeah, that's, sometimes like Jack Nicholson, you have to keep going, you'll get your Academy Award.
That's
soon.
true.
Wait, thank you. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday, if that's okay with council. Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under finance.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cartwright. Appreciate
Thank
all
you.
y'all do.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired. I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem if you don't mind taking that committee, please.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Housing and Community Affairs Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. Item number 8, Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item under the Legislative Intergovernmental Committee tonight, and that is to adopt an ordinance to amend Section 38-18E5 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Douglasville to update the state code section reference for appellate procedures of an abatement court order.
Ooh,
Y'all got
it's
that
a
right?
mouthful.
Ms. Miranda Jordan will interpret that into normal human language for us from legalese.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Miranda Jordan, Staff Attorney, 6695 Church Street. As I was reviewing our code for the purposes of beginning some abatement procedures for the city, I noticed that there was a reference to an outdated state code section that has to do with an appeal. So if somebody had the court determine that their property needed to be abated by the city and they wanted to file an appeal, there was a reference to a code section in the state law that no longer exists. So this is a housekeeping matter to replace that with the correct code section.
We're so thankful to have somebody like you who understands these things. Any questions or comments from Mayor or Council? I didn't think so. If it's the council's will, I'd like to place item A on the consent agenda for Monday. So
Looks
done.
like it's okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That is all we have under the Legislative Intergovernmental Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate you taking that committee for me. The next committee is Personnel and Organization Committee. I'll ask the Vice Chair, Dr. LaShawn Bird-Danley, please, if you would take this committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes,
You're
we have
welcome.
one item tonight. Item reads as follows: reappoint B. Keith Rollins as Chief Municipal Court Judge for a term of May 21st through the 24th through June 30th through 2025, and authorize the mayor to sign an employment agreement with him for that purpose. All right. I don't have any questions at this time. Do we have any questions, Madam Mayor, or from our council?
I do not.
No one? Okay. Can this item be added to the consent agenda, or do we have to vote on it on Monday? Yes. Okay. Would you like to make any comments? Short comments? Where do I sign? So I would like to add this to the consent agenda for Monday. Is that okay? All
Looks
right.
like it's fine.
Thank you. No other items under personnel.
All right, thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. We
Yes,
appreciate
ma'am.
it. Congratulations, Judge. I will move on then to Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We do have just a few items this evening.
Just a few.
Just a few. The first item is item number 24-114. That was tabled from April 15th, 2024, and it says to hold a public hearing and consider a request to amend Exhibit C of Ordinance 2021-56 to amend Condition 14 regarding camera systems throughout the community to require in said vehicular tag reader system to be installed at the entrance to the development for 13.83 acres on Van Sant Road in land lot 902, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 0902-1820018. Application by Starlight Homes. And Ms. Marissa Jackson is here to discuss this with us.
Okay.
Hello, Marissa Jackson, Planning and Zoning Administrator, 6695 Church Street. You will recall that this item was a request to amend a zoning condition for a townhome development that is currently underway. Staff is requesting that this item is tabled again to the May 30th and June 3rd council meetings. The additional time will allow staff to do additional data gathering and prepare a discussion for council in advance of taking action on this item.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And I know that we did speak about this earlier, and you said, as you just stated, that you guys are still looking into some data to present at council. and we've determined that it will not affect the construction of the townhomes at this time either. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Council, did you guys have questions? No? Okay, well, with that being said, I think at this time we just say we're taking no action, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, ma'am. Moving along. Our next item is 24-164, and that is to amend ordinance 2022-23 to correct the ordinance to conform the application for rezoning from general commercial and R2 to PUD, and the contents of the presentation and public hearing, which took place on May 12th of 2022. And Ms. Shayla Reed is going to talk to us about this item.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Shayla Reed, 6695 Church Street, Community Development Director. This item is an item that you've heard back in 2022. During the time that this item was presented to you, staff presented it as a PUD item. The staff report had PUD items listed within the staff report. The applicant presented it as a PUD, but unfortunately, staff and the planning team did not provide it as a PUD. It was provided as a PRD. So when it was signed as a resolution, it was signed as PRD. So we're asking to correct that and place it as a PUD. We went back and, of course, looked at the videos and checked the minutes. Everything's reflective of a PUD action. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Council, did you guys have questions regarding this item? No, I think it was kind of straightforward. Are you guys okay with placing this on the consent then? Wonderful.
Looks like a yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is item 24-147. Is to hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from public semi-public district to heavy industrial district for 2.526 acres at 1435 Municipal Parkway in land lot 735, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 0735-182-0017. And Ms. Marissa Jackson is here to discuss this with us also.
Hello, this is a request for rezoning from PSP, public semi-public, to HI, heavy industrial. The public semi-public zoning district is reserved for public services. So for example, city hall, schools, things that serve the public. This site was previously owned by the Development Authority, which may be why it had the public semi-public zoning designation, but it did have a similar industrial user using the site for many years. The applicant is here today to amend the zoning to heavy industrial, which is more in alignment with how the site is being used.
Thank you for that.
Item C and D are related. Item C is a request for rezoning, and item D is a request for variance.
Perfect, okay. Council, do you guys have questions regarding this item? No?
We have an applicant.
Okay. Would the applicant like to come down and speak to us about this? then?
Good evening, everyone. Joe Fowler, Post
Good
Office
evening.
Box 49 in Douglasville. Allow me to introduce Mr. Alex Gonzalez, who's the local president of Craig Wire, Linda Belcher, vice president of operations, and then Brent Portwood, who is the plant manager. If you have questions, we're going to talk to the guy who does it every day, but his bosses are here to correct anything that he might say, if anything, incorrectly. I represent Craig Wire Products. They have actually bought this facility, and they're seeking to rezone it from the classification that you've just heard her explain to heavy industrial. And then the basis for the variance is to increase a portion of the building height from 50 to 60 feet. The property, as you know, is located on Municipal Parkway. Until 2 months ago, when this property was acquired by Craig Wire, the building had been owned by an entity known as Electrical Fiber Systems. They'd been there for ages. That's an Australian company. Mm-hmm. They manufactured insulating tapes and insulating cable and electrical fiber yarns. They'd been there for about 20 years, and they'd done so under an industrial revenue bond because they received a tax abatement, which meant that the title had to be vested in the Development Authority so they could get the tax exempt status under the tax plan. That ended, title was never reverted to Electrical Fiber Systems, and so the zoning remained by that classification. Currently, zoning boards are not changing the underlying classification even if you have a tax abatement. But what's happening tonight is because the property has been acquired by Craig Wire, we're simply asking the city council to rezone it to the zoning classification that it would have been had it not been under the bond abatement. I will note that, as you're familiar with it, the site is bounded to the north by 4 lots of similar size. All those are actually 2 acres stacked on top till you get to Industrial Boulevard to the west of Municipal Parkway, all heavy industrial. This one's 2.5 acres. And then to the east of this property, adjoining immediately to the east and then going up to the north, are heavy industrial uses there. There are 9 parcels to the east, ranging from 2 acres to just over 8 acres. Craig Wire Products has been in business 17 years, and for a significant portion of that time, they've been on Shattuck's Industrial Way, actually just around the corner of Industrial Boulevard. They need a second location. They've been blessed. The space that they have now acquired will enable them to manufacture magnetic wire, insulated copper wire, and some other things that you'll hear in a moment. They currently have 69 employees at this new location. They'll add 30 more over the next 2 years and potentially more as things progress. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval. And if you've got some questions about what they're doing, as I mentioned just a moment ago, Mr. Portwood can respond to those. We are requesting your approval of the rezoning. It is rezoning consistent with what's in the neighborhood, and it likewise will be almost exactly like what was happening earlier. So any questions for Mr. Portwood or for me, you'll be more than glad to respond. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Yes, Mr. Miller, and you've got questions?
Thank you. We appreciate bringing additional jobs and community investment. Thank you. We appreciate you bringing the jobs into the community and the investment. I don't mean to jump ahead on an item, but since Mr. Fowler had mentioned it, I assume you're raising the height on the building has to do with the internal operations of the facility?
Good evening, Mayor and committee members. Yes, raising the roof is part of the building to accommodate vertical machinery. The current roof structure variance is to 50 foot, take it to 60, would allow us to stand the equipment vertically. The rest of the building will house additional manufacturing equipment as well.
But it's purely functional.
I'm sorry?
You said it appears to be purely functional while you're doing that, though. So,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Were there any other questions or comments of council? Okay. Related to that next item, while you've brought it up, I just wanted to make sure that I did understand correctly. It's just that very back portion on the back side of the building where you're going to be raising, or you're requesting to raise a small portion of that roof to allow. It's not the entire building.
Correct.
Right.
If you stand at the road, look at the building, it's the far end of the building, so the furthest away from the road. There's vacant lot behind us, so it's obscured for the most part from the road. We did
We have
submit a rendition of the facility, proposed addition to it. So yes, it's
I don't think so. Okay. All right. I appreciate that so much, guys. Thank you so much for that information. With it being, Mr. Fowler, did you have?
Just one quick thing. We've presented actually the variance and the rezoning together. The variance is only to deal with the far end of the building where the height would be raised. That's the component for the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Since this is a public hearing, guys, let's go ahead and open up the floor. If we have anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this item. And as Councilman Davis likes to say, if there are no takers, we're going to go ahead and close this public hearing. And guys, we will take up that portion of the meeting on Monday for a vote. Make sure I have it right. Is this right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, D. Sorry, it was actually more than a few items, so I had to make sure I was counting down right. Our next item is item 24-148, and that is to hold a public hearing and request for a variance from section 5.05 of the Unified Development Ordinance to increase the maximum principal building height from 50 feet to 60 feet on a land lot of 2.526 acres at 1435 Municipal Parkway and land lot 735, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 0735-182-0017. And Ms. Marissa Jackson is here to help us understand this item.
Hello again. The applicant is requesting a rezoning to heavy industrial. The maximum height in the heavy industrial zoning district is 50 feet. The applicant needs additional height as part of their operation. So they're requesting a variance to allow an additional 10 feet in height to have a maximum of 60 feet.
Okay. And just so that we're all clear that before this item comes here, that you've already ran this through all of our public sectors, including the fire department, to make sure that this was acceptable to be raising that roof height.
That is correct. The development review team has reviewed the request.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Council, did you guys have any questions of Ms. Jackson? Yes, Coach?
And I think you already pointed this out. We're just talking about part of the building, not the entire roof.
That is
One part of the building. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Mr. Fowler, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to this portion? Okay, thank you. Well, guys, since this is a public hearing, let's go ahead and open up the floor. If we have anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this item, now is your chance. And if we don't have anyone, we're going to go ahead and close that public hearing, guys, and we will take this item up on Monday as well. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Okay. And now, our next item is item 24-163. That is to hold a public hearing and consider a request for variance from Section 8.01 of the Unified Development Ordinance to reduce the required parking spaces from 750 to 125 parking spaces, and a variance from Section 8.03 to increase the maximum light mounting height from 20 feet to 40 feet on a land lot of 55.37 acres at 1701 North River Road and land lot 173, District 1, Section 5. Parcel ID 017-301-50012. And Ms. Marissa Jackson is down here to talk to us about this item.
This request is a two-part variance. The first part is to reduce the parking from 750 required spaces to 125 spaces. The second part is to increase the maximum light height. Regarding the parking, the ordinance says that we are required to have one parking space per 1,000 square feet. This facility is 750,000 square feet. So that would require 750 spaces. That's a lot of asphalt. And since this isn't a use that has a lot of traffic or a lot of employees, that would just create a lot of impervious surface and a lot of asphalt that isn't being used. So the applicant is requesting to reduce the parking requirement based on their anticipated traffic and employee levels. The second part is regarding the lighting height. Staff is recommending a condition that the applicant is required to use downcast lighting that would help to prevent some of the light pollution that might be caused by higher light poles.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Council, did you guys have questions of Ms. Jackson while she's up here? Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That 750 parking spaces, I know it's in our UDO, is that coming out of the International Building Code? Is that a recommendation from
I'm not sure exactly where that came from. It's one of the conditions in the Unified Development Ordinance in the parking section.
Trying to figure out what the mathematics behind that. I understand how the calculation works. I'm just trying to figure out the logic behind the mathematics for industrial development, because typically so many facilities don't have anywhere near that number. And we've gone over this a number. We've had quite a few applicants come through requesting us to drastically reduce the amount of parking. I'm just wondering why we have a part of our UDO that calculates out the parking spaces so high. It might be worth taking a look at that to see if we can restructure the parking requirements for industrial lots.
Yeah, that's a standard that's in the UDO, but we can definitely take a look at it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I did have a question about the second item, item E with the lighting, and to increase the maximum lighting height from 20 to 40 feet, and that would help to prevent the lighting from going on any residential, or what's the rationale behind that?
The applicant can speak more to the rationale, but the request for downcast lighting was to try and prevent the lighting from going up into the space that could potentially impact neighboring properties. If we have the downcast lighting, it's more anticipated to shine down on the ground around the facility rather than going up into the air.
Okay, so it is about protecting the privacy or the intrusion of the residents, is that correct?
Yeah.
Or any?
The condition will help with the light intrusion to the residents.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
okay,
also reduces light pollution as well.
right.
The extra
Thank
20
you.
feet is to provide enough lighting for security and safety, I'm assuming.
That's my
well,
understanding. The applicant
This
can
is,
also speak.
guys,
to
if you guys would like to, if you'll just give us your name and record, if you want to come on up and you can tell us what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
Good evening.
Mayor and council members, thank you for having us up here. My name is Chip Scaglione. I'm with DC Blocks. We've got Dylan Callahan with Thomas & Hutton, our civil engineer. Dylan, you have the presentation, or do we need to go into the presentation itself we have a small presentation?
Is there another opportunity, Ms. Jackson, for them to do their presentation, or this is their? You have another item?
Yes, this is the time for their presentation.
Okay. It's up to you, Madam Chair.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Dylan Callahan with Thomas & Hutton, 220 North Main Street in Greenville, South Carolina. Marissa did a good job kind of covering everything, so I can make this a little shorter, but I would like to give you some background about the project, our variance ask, and specifically some of the questions you've presented so far we'll cover real quick. So again, I'm with Thomas & Hutton. We are the civil engineers for DC Blocks for this site.
Do we have this, Ms. Jackson?
Page 32.
32?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem and I are looking. We're on page 28. Oh, we're ready. We're with you on page 32. Okay.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to recap, we have two variances that we are seeking. Number one is a reduction in our parking count for the site, and then number two is an increase to the site lighting maximum height. Some background on the project. This is a vicinity map to show you Douglasville is located to the west. We are off of Riverside Parkway on North River Road. That is a corridor that has other data center uses on that road. We are 1701 North River Road. We are currently zoned as LI Light Industrial, and a majority of the parcels around us are LI Light Industrial, with the exception of residential to the north on Summer Lake Road. This is a screenshot of our site layout. This has two data centers proposed. Across the two buildings, there are 761,000 square feet approximately. And so we did go through a DRI process that was completed with ARC and GRTA in early April of this year. And currently there are activities on site for mass grading only, which is essentially just moving dirt to get pad ready. So it's just grading activities right now. To touch on the specifics within the UDO and the reason for our variance, Section 801 requires us to provide one space per 1,000 square feet for a data processing use. So this is where we're coming up with our required 700 some odd parking spaces. And then Section 803 does outline a limit of 20 feet for the site lighting. For the parking, again, 762 spaces is what the UDO requires of us. We are asking for a variance to reduce to 125 spaces. The data center facilities, majority of the square footage is allocated to computer components and mechanical systems for cooling. So there is a very low need for active employees on site. There's a much lower employee count than, say, a manufacturing or distributing warehouse of similar square footage. So based off of the owner's anticipations, for both buildings, we're expecting approximately 80 employees across all shifts, which means that our 125 should be able to support what their needs are for this site. For the site lighting, specifically to touch on our ask here, the 20-foot is the limit for the height from the UDO. We are asking for 40 feet because we have a large site, it's approximately 55 acres. Our campus is not the whole 55 acres, obviously, but we do want to have an efficient lighting scheme, and a higher mounting height will allow us to space those light poles out, reduce overall fixtures, and it will also give us a benefit to our security. So security is a very big deal for these data center campuses. It is a top priority. The way that's managed across the site is with cameras, and typically they are mounted on the poles. So a 20-foot height limitation will drive our security cameras down, and that will impact our security coverage and create a less efficient layout. That is the primary ask for the site lighting, both illumination and security. Just to touch real quick on the item that Marissa had covered, regarding light pollution and the perimeter, we are comfortable with a condition to ensure that our fixtures are not going to create any what we call light trespass across the property lines. When we do go for submittals with this variance in hand, we will have a photometric that outlines the illumination across the site, not just our paving, so that the reviewers can review that information. And that is an image of the proposed fixture there. So it is not a diffuser that will send out in all directions. It will be directed towards the illumination areas. And Marissa did a good job to touch on some of these, but the difference in parking is 630 spaces. For us, that's approximately 4 acres of paving that's going to have to go in, and it will ultimately be an unused parking lot. There are implications to stormwater and environmental controls that would have to be addressed if this was a requirement, but because it would be unused, we're requesting the variance to eliminate that need. And then the site lighting impact, as I touched, based off the 20-foot limitation, we would have a large number of light fixtures and a larger number of security cameras to reach our needs for illumination, security, and safety on the site. So just to reiterate what our variance is, we're asking to reduce those site parking requirements down to 125 total. We believe that will meet the end user needs for the data center, as well as just overall reducing our development impact that would be required to accommodate that number of parking spaces. And then the increase in the site lighting to 40 feet will allow us to provide a better, secure, safer site for our security needs and the owner. So I hope that addresses some of those questions initially.
That was very helpful. Thank you very much. Council, did you guys have questions of the applicant while they're up here? No? Wow, look at that. All right. Guys, I appreciate your presentation so much. I'm trying to make sure. Is this one not a... Is this one a public hearing? There's I can't even count to E anymore. Okay. Well, guys, this one is also a public hearing. So at this time, let's go ahead and open the floor up for anyone who may be here this evening that would like to speak either for or against this item. And if we don't have anyone, we'll go ahead and close that portion of the meeting as well. And we will take this item up on Monday. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. We're getting there now. We are. Next item is item 24-157. It says to consider request for a final plat approval for the purpose of consolidating 4 lots for 41.430 acres at Preston Boulevard and Bob Arnold Boulevard in land lot 677, District 18, Section 2. Parcels 2 and 5 in land lot 678, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 10, and land lot 709, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 2. And Mr. James Gordon is here to speak to us about this item.
Hello,
Good evening.
Mayor and Council. I'm James Gordon, 6695 Church Street, Engineering Department. This item is a follow-up of an item from 2021 for Gray Star Sweetwater Apartments. Recently, we discovered that the initial plat that you approved in 2021 has not been recorded at the courthouse. So this is a follow-up to have this plat get a final signature and recording.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Okay, so then we're not actually taking any action. We're just looking to get signatures on it so that they can get it recorded. Council, did you guys have questions of Mr. Gordon about this item? No? That being said, are you guys okay with placing this on the consent agenda? I
Looks like it
appreciate
is.
that. Okay, thank you. All right, guys, last item, I promise, and that is item 24-174. Says to consider a request for revised final plat approval for Silverman Phase 4 to correct a line dimension along Tract 5 on 57.99 acres at 7600 Wood Road in Land Lot 162, District 2, Section 5, Parcel ID 016202500001. And Mr. James Gordon is here to help us with this item also.
Good evening. This item was brought to you approximately a month ago with this development, and what was discovered after it was finalized and recorded was that there was a typo right in the lower right-hand corner of the Tract 4 lot. That is the only thing that is changing on this drawing.
So it
Thank
wasn't
you,
a
Mr.
broken tape
Gordon.
measure?
Excuse me?
It wasn't a broken tape measure?
I guess so.
You don't think so? All right. Council, did you guys have any other questions of Mr. Gordon regarding this item? No. Well, then let's get this fixed. Are you guys okay with placing this on the consent agenda? Look at us go. All right. Mr. Gordon, thank you so much. Madam
Thank you.
Mayor, that is all that we have this evening for planning and development. I know.
Did a wonderful job. Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. We'll move on then to, you have another committee, Public Improvement and Beautification Committee, chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening for public improvement and beautification.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Ms. Marissa, for bringing those items to us. I will move on then after that to item number 12, which is Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business at this time, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. We'll move on then to Public Safety Committee. The chair is Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item. It reads as follows: authorize the Douglasville Police Department to apply for the 2024 Bulletproof Vest Grant from the United States Department of Justice, which is also DOJ, Bureau of Justice Assistance, in the amount of $36,330 for half the cost of 42 bulletproof vests. Chief Sparks.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a reoccurring grant that we get every year from the Bureau of Justice. We have to continually outfit our men and women with updated vests. So right now we have 42 vests, and these vests cost $865 per vest. So the total cost is $36,330, and the Bureau of Justice will reimburse us half of that, and then we'll pay half of $18,165 for the vest. The vests, they expire every 5 years. You know, so they are level 3A vests that we get our men and women. So this is something we come up with every year, and so we back here for this year.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Sparks. Are there any questions? Yes.
curious.
Madam Mayor? I'm sorry.
Chief, what do you do with the old vests?
I'm
when they
sorry, Mayor
expire?
Pro Tem.
You would like to have one?
Madam Mayor first.
You want one?
You want one?
No.
Well, we train with them. The SWAT team go out and we shoot, fire them, and so we do a lot of training. We have given some to the fire department, but they understand at the 5-year mark. I know we have assisted some of these police departments. One while we tried to send some over to Ukraine.
Oh,
Okay.
Back
Okay.
when that war first
Thank you.
started, but, that's
They
what
don't
we
just
do.
get thrown out. You have use for
Recycle.
them, so that's good to know.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Dr. Sparks, so you said there was a rotation every 5 years, but I know that we apply every year to DOJ. So the officers, we have more than 42 officers that need the vest, so
Right.
it's an alternate. They alternate where each officer is getting a new vest. It just depends on when their 5-year life expectancy is up.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Question? Yes, Councilman Davis.
Yes, Dr. Sparks, Terry and I want to make an appointment to come down and try a couple of them, try them on, see how they feel.
Speaking for yourself there.
Y'all come over there, we'll outfit you with one and let you
You
run
got an
around.
you
Let
got
you
an
run around
outfit?
a little bit with it on,
Councilman Davis,
in 90-degree weather.
are you gonna let them test the vest while you're wearing it?
Yeah, make sure you have the
It's
K9.
herding cats, it's herding cats.
Okay.
Terry kept hunching me, said we ought to go try it.
Thank you, Dr. Chief Sparks. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda.
I think that's good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry, there is no match to this, is that right? We haven't had a match in the past.
We have to pay half of it. We have to pay $18,165. It's 36, but they're gonna repay us a half of it. So they pay half, we pay half.
And that, the half is coming from out of your budget, from the police?
It's budget.
Joint fund, okay. All right, thank you. I'd still like to place this on the consent agenda. And Madam Mayor, we have no other items under public safety.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Thank you, Chief Sparks. We'll move on. Yes, sir. We'll move on then to item 14, Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
one
welcome.
item tonight.
Yes, sir.
Adopt a resolution declaring May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as National Travel and Tourism Week in the city of Douglasville. And Ms. Rosado is going to take this.
Good evening, Mayor and
Good
Council. Sorry. Samantha Rosado, Assistant Conference Center and Tourism Director at 6700 Church Street. Before you all is a routine resolution declaring this Sunday, May 19th through Saturday, May 25th, National Travel and Tourism Week. We have a full week planned to celebrate travel's essential role in driving our nation's economy, cultivating vibrant communities, and forging connections. Next week, we plan to pop up at several locations. We have a total of 7 locations that will popping up from Monday through Friday. Just with visitor information, it's a great way for them to kick off summer. So it'll have, our new dining guide, our visitors guide, parks programs guide, and so just different ways for either people that are in the hotels or in the restaurants to figure out ways that they can really enjoy the community this summer. We also have the historic preservation that will be on Tuesday, where we'll recognize 2 individuals that really help as cheerleaders in the tourism industry. And then we will have a big social media push as well. This annual tradition was established back in 1983 by a congressional resolution, and it is a time where the U.S. travel community comes together to celebrate the value travel holds for our economy, businesses, and personal well-being.
Ms. Rosado, one question I had before I ask anybody else, do y'all will we be able to get access to the calendar for this week, all the different activities and where they're at and everything? Because I don't see it in the
Attachment.
agenda. But
I
just-
will give it to Kristen to send out with your highlights.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone on council? Well, we'll place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Thank you, Ms. Rosado, for all you do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Coach Watts and Ms. Rosado. We appreciate the information. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Elena Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Our last committee is Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdamley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
one
welcome.
item under transportation. It's authorized the mayor to sign the Georgia Department of Transportation 2024 supplemental LMIG LRA grant application for a grant for road maintenance in the amount of $482,755.53. Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Todd.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
Todd
evening.
Dresdo, Public Services Department, 8145 Cedar Mountain Road. Really excited to be here tonight. I stuck it out all the way here. This grant that we have before you is, we usually come about once a year to apply for the LMIG program. We've already done that this year. We did that early in December. So the 2024 LMIG is already out. We've got that out to bid. We're working on that project. What we've got before you tonight is actually a second program. Excuse me, the governor has released additional funds, and so they're doing a second round. They're calling it the Local Roads Assistance Program, but it's essentially a second LMIG. It's administered through the LMIG program. It's exactly like an LMIG, has all the same requirements, except for this is a 0% match grant required from the city. So all we've got to do is sign on the dotted line. We've got some free money here. So the amount for the city of Douglasville is $482,755. And as you'll see in your attachment here, we've got a proposed project list. We do not believe in doing just the minimum, so we're proposing 20 streets, 5.49 miles. We estimate this project will be roughly $3 million total. Of that, almost $500,000 will come from the LRA funds here, and the remaining would come from 2022 SPLOST funds. So that's what we're asking you to approve tonight. And if you got any questions, be happy to take them.
Thank you so much. Have the mayor and council, have you all had a chance to look at our street list? Okay. I don't have any questions. I'm glad to see, I love free, especially when it's free money. It's great. And if there aren't any questions or comments, I'd like to add this to the consent agenda. This is not anything new that we've not done in the past. If that's okay with the mayor and council? If so, Madam Mayor, there are no other items under transportation tonight.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you,
You're
Mr. Dresdel. We're excited about resources to resurface our streets. Thank you so much. So we'll move on then to other business. Is there any other business to come before council tonight from the elected officials? Okay, I don't see any. Updates from our city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson. Thank you, Mr. Dotson. Staff attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan.
No business, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our chief of police, Dr. Gary Sparks.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, you don't have anything going on this weekend?
Not this weekend, but next weekend we got a car show.
Okay, I
So
know
if
it's
you got
always
some-
something.
Some old cars you want to bring out and show them out, shine them up.
Okay, and you had yoga last night.
Yeah, we had yoga.
You had
I
yoga
missed it.
last night. Okay. But next week is a car show.
It's
Okay, all right, we look forward to that then. Our city manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Some of you will be traveling with me tomorrow to Gainesville. We will be leaving in front of the conference center at 9:15.
9:15.
9:15.
If you don't, the train will be leaving at 9:15.
It's because it's a long way up and it's a long way back. But
You got
we
that
will-
right.
We will be granted by the mayor and the city manager there and a couple of the elected officials. So we'll tour the entire downtown.
All righty, thank you, city manager. Now we've come to the portion of our agenda. We're almost at the adjournment, but it's comments from citizens and delegates. If you have sustained the meeting and you'd like to speak to us, please come forward to give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business germane to the city of Douglasville. We have any takers? No? All right. If we don't have any other business, then this meeting is adjourned.
Joel, I'm gonna make dinner.